Dude, the military parade, that was so embarrassing. Just weak. If you wanted to broadcast to the world that we haven't won a war in 80 years, this was the parade to do it. You know, here I was thinking that we were going to get a majestic showcase of American power and might. But no, we've got clickety-clacking down Constitution Avenue or wherever the fuck. It hasn't been oiled since the First World War. Like, who was president when we used this thing? Fucking Woodrow Wilson? The last time it was oiled, John D. Rockefeller himself provided the oil. I mean, just look at China's military parade. Or even Russia's. And then here we are. Bro, this guy's literally just fat. This guy is out of shape. They're not even marching on the same foot. Like, they look like they'd rather be anywhere else. Like, aren't you supposed to be like left, right? You can't.
Hello guys, welcome once again to AfriPost. I hope wherever you're watching us from, you're having a great time. Now, the other day we saw President Trump hold his military parade. And most of the times, you know that these military parades, when conducted, they are always a show of might, a show of power, a show of how organized their military presence is. But if you look at that entire parade that they had, compare it with that which happens in China or even in North Korea, you realize that Kim Jong-un does it better. So most Americans came to the social media and they were speaking about the entire thing that happened. And they had varied and mixed reactions over it. So I want you to listen to some of the things that they had to say over this parade that Trump had. Then we shall talk in the end. Let's watch.
You know what? I think I figured out why nobody showed up to Trump's parade. Because all of his followers work for ICE now, and they're too busy trying to arrest immigrants. Literally all the Trump loyalists work for ICE now. Like, has he depleted his resources already? Like, that's all he had? Is MAGA tapping out already?
79 years of life, and this is Donald J. Trump's worst birthday ever. And that's saying something because we know he was teased as a kid. Because, I mean, wouldn't you tease the guy? Look at him there. He's so disappointed. It's my party. I can cry if I want to, but I have to be strong. I have to be a tough Republican man. Melania's there like, dude, I cannot believe you made me show up for this. There's like a few thousand people here. This is embarrassing, man. What are you doing? Pete Hegseth's over there like, oof, this is kind of rough, man. I gotta text the boys in the group chat, see if we can get a drink after this. This is absolutely brutal. What a complete failure from this group of incompetent people. Today was an absolute failure for them. No King's protests, millions nationwide, every big city, all 50 states standing up against fascism, standing up against dictators who think they can throw some North Korean Kim Jong-un, look at me, I'm the man type parade. Well, listen, Donald, the people have spoken today, and the people want you gone.
So nobody showed up to Donald Trump's birthday military parade. Here is a video from an NBC reporter who, as you see, is standing in the middle of an empty field. And this is as the event is supposed to be underway. Now, take a look as it zooms out. There's nobody there. That is miles of empty fields at an event where Donald Trump said there was going to be an estimated 200,000 people showing up. Now, take a look. Does that look like 200,000 people? It's barely 2,000. I mean, this is such a poor showing that I can guarantee that there were more people protesting against Trump in New York City and San Francisco and San Diego and St. Paul and Los Angeles and in New Orleans, where I protested today. But we didn't have a $45 million budget to support our protests like Donald Trump has for his military parade. But we got bigger crowds than him. And that's going to drive him crazy. Happy birthday, fascist.
Did you know Trump pushed for a military parade during his first presidency? And the Pentagon said no? At the time, his own defense secretary, Jim Mattis, said, "I would rather swallow acid." And Paul Selva, the vice chairman of the Joint Chiefs, told him, "Mr. President, dictators do that. Democracies do not. And what do they mean by that? You see, dictators use military parades to frighten their own people, to project strength, to intimidate dissent. It's not about defending the nation. It's about performing dominance. It's about making fear visible. In the US, the tradition has always been different. The posture of the military has always been, we're the strongest in the world, and we don't need to parade down the streets in tanks to prove it. Because that kind of show of force, that's not power. That's propaganda. And now, Saturday, June 14th, Trump is getting his parade with nearly 7,000 troops, armed vehicles, tanks, fighter jets, and weaponry, all to mark the Army's 250th anniversary. And conveniently, his birthday. Military officials, especially retired generals, are deeply alarmed by this. Some are warning of a potential Tiananmen Square moment. One former officer reported to the press, "This is not what America is supposed to look like." And yet, this is where we are. Trump has already sent 4,000 National Guard troops and 700 Marines to Los Angeles amid anti-ICE protests. Tanks are rolling down the streets of the Capitol. Police are blackbagging and raiding immigrant families all across the United States. The military is showing up in force against U.S. citizens. This is what happens when the military becomes a political weapon, no longer belonging to the people, but to one man's image. And as one Pentagon reporter put it, this could become a Trump military, a MAGA military. And that alone should terrify all of us. Did you know Trump pushed for a military parade during...
Hi there, is this King Jong dumb? Because what the hell is going on, Donald? Oh, you're just showing the American people how much you love the army. Yeah, I forget you loved it so much that you dodged the draft in the 70s. You look like a real expert, yeah, especially when you couldn't pronounce the word infantryman.
Of a U.S. infantryman.
Do me a favour, yeah, and don't start mispronouncing the word further. Führer, you just did it. Also, real nice touch for holding the parade at 7:30, which in military time is obviously 1930s Germany. Oh, this is all just to celebrate the army's birthday, is it? Sorry, just out of interest, how old is the army? Because listening to your speech, you don't seem to know.
For every generation of warriors who have worn the uniform all the way back to the very beginning.
Very beginning. Very specific. Ah, yeah, and it was also a really nice touch that all the people that actually came to the parade looked like they were literally being held at gunpoint.
I think it's new, and I think it's a bunch of proud Americans who came to this.
Basically, Donald, we all know you're trying to do fascism, but you can at least give us the decency of not doing it in such a shit way.
Dude, the military parade, that was so embarrassing. Just weak. If you wanted to broadcast to the world that we haven't won a war in 80 years, this was the parade to do it. You know, here I was thinking that we were going to get a majestic showcase of American power and might. But no, we've got clickety-clacking down Constitution Avenue or wherever the fuck. It hasn't been oiled since the First World War. Like, who was president when we used this thing? Fucking Woodrow Wilson? The last time it was oiled, John D. Rockefeller himself provided the oil. I mean, just look at China's military parade. Or even Russia's. And then here we are. Bro, this guy's literally just fat. This guy is out of shape. They're not even marching on the same foot. Like, they look like they'd rather be anywhere else. Like, aren't you supposed to be like left, right? You can't just like, you know, go like however you want. And just to set the scene a bit, they opened up with Lizzo. Lizzo herself couldn't make it. She was busy. So instead they got someone to play her Lizzo music, which, as you can see, everyone is very much enjoying. Some are sleeping. And then coming in straight from the Capitol is the brigade of lady soldiers, and they look so intimidating, and we take them very seriously, as do our enemies. And then the announcer they brought in, because yes, the whole thing had a and now, you know, George Washington crossing the Valley Ford. Well, the guy they brought in, I don't know if they got him from like a Vegas strip club or something. He had a hard time remembering the dates.
The armistice of November 11th, 1918.
Yeah, 1918, 1919. Hopefully no one noticed. Oh, we did. Well, regardless, pay no mind. We're coming rootin' the tootin' to kick your ass. Okay. Okay, George Washington. Now, are you from... Which branch of the military are you from? And did they just make you wear the cosplay, or did they pick you up from the local Broadway troupe? They say, okay, John, but aren't we being a bit shallow here? All you're saying is just aesthetic stuff. America, we don't do none of that frou-frou, pageantry. We just kick ass. Well, it would be one thing if we were in the business of winning wars, but we're not, and haven't since World War II. And aesthetics matter. This is a parade. What do you mean it's only aesthetic? The whole thing is aesthetic. That's the point of it. Aesthetics do not matter. In fact, there was a leader of a country once who took 152 anti-aircraft searchlights and pointed them up to the sky for optics alone. And Goering was like, hey, buddy, we kind of need those. The Luftwaffe is going to need those for, the actual war that we're fighting. And whoever was leading the country at the time was like, I don't care. Because they're going to look unbelievable on that stage. And it's going to project that we are swimming in these searchlights. So it matters. And I don't know, maybe this was super duper impressive IRL, but most people weren't watching from Washington. Most people saw it on television or online. That's where our enemies who are supposed to fear us saw it, and we gave them this. Donald Trump usually understands television and the importance of it, but obviously not today. And then the icing on the cake is that the whole event was sponsored by
Palantir.
Bruh, we are so cooked. We are so cooked.
For those of you that's saying that the military is loyal to Donald J. Trump, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to tell you they are not. The reason why I say this is because out of the 14 years that I served in the Army, and as an NCO myself, when the troop morale is up, you will see it in their performance. When troop morale is down, you will see it in their performance. I'm saying this because I know for a fact that the troop morale was low. I know for a fact that those service members did not put their 100% into their performance in the parade. The marching that I witnessed was appalling. And as an NCO, I would have reamed all of them. Why? Because they were out of step. And that is one thing that is drilled into you when you go through boot camp, when you go through basic training, is drill and ceremony. They drill the shit out of you until, like, if you have 2 left feet, you will not have 2 left feet by the time you're done with training. A lot of people are saying that these are paid actors. I personally don't believe that this particular group right here are paid. Why? Because if you look at their hand position, that is only acquired through training. And if he would have used civilians, they wouldn't know how to place their hands like that. When you serve under the UCMJ, when you are actively serving under the UCMJ, we are not allowed to participate in anything political. We are not allowed to participate in any type of protesting. But we have what's called silent protesting. When we don't like something, or if our morale is down, we rebel. And we call it a silent rebellion. We call it a silent protest. And this right here is a silent protest. They did not perform the way that they were supposed to perform. This is what everyone was expecting. This is what Donald J. Trump wanted to see. But what do we get instead? This is what we got instead. Look at that. Low morale. They did not want to be there. They didn't choose to be there. They did not give their 100%. Why? Because of this administration. Regime. So, ladies and gentlemen, the military had one job to do. One job to do. And they did it. They did not come through for Donald J. Trump. They did not give him what he wanted. And that was a perfect, picturesque parade. Very militaristic. They purposefully sabotaged his parade.
People were talking about it. I thought President Donald Trump was having this parade with tanks and helicopters and soldiers just for his birthday. But I came to find out it's also a celebration for the 250th anniversary of the U.S. Army, the greatest army the world has ever seen, by the way, which I'm all for celebrating our United States Army. I have an extreme amount of respect for the people who have put their life on the line in defense of this beloved country that I can confidently say I love. But this parade is going to cost between $25 and $40 million. The airport in DC has to shut down for X amount of time, like shut down, not just like limited flights. They say it's got to shut down for a few hours. Roads will be closed down for days in preparation for this parade. I'm not saying let's not celebrate our military. I'm all for celebrating our military. But the inconvenience it's going to have on American citizens in our capital, that's kind of wild. I'm sure there's a more affordable and more reasonable way to do this. And the optics aren't going to look good. We got tanks rolling down American streets, although it is for a good reason in celebrating our military. The optics just are good. This is these are optics we've seen from countries that we don't necessarily get along with, from countries that do have dictators, authoritarians. Again, I want to be clear. I am for celebrating the U.S. military. I just don't think this is the proper way. It's too inconveniencing. And again, the optics are just not going to look good, even though I can acknowledge it is well intentioned. Thank you to the men and women in service. Always thank you. But yeah, this is a little bit too.
It's a parade, and it's $25 million.
Let them have it.
Parades with military equipment, heavy tanks, artillery, those things cause damage.
I think they definitely should do it more often.
That's a lot of money for a parade.
They spend a lot of money on a lot of other things. I think this is a worthy cause.
That is absolutely a good cause.
I wish our tax dollars weren't paying for it, but I wish our tax dollars weren't paying for a lot of things.
Complete waste of money. Not worth it.
There's issues with our budget, so that is definitely expenditures that we should not be embarking on.
Sounds like a lot of money. We have a lot of people sleeping on the street.
It's a waste of a significant amount of money, in my opinion, for someone's ego.
I don't really have an opinion based on the costs of things.
They defend our rights, our freedoms here in America. I don't see that as a big expense.
I find it surprising that it's going to be on his birthday.
So that's an interesting coincidence.
That just happens to be a coincidence.
It sounds like it's more of a celebration of him.
I don't know why we wouldn't be able to celebrate both.
I'm all for it.
As a historian, can I give you the best silver lining to this whole parade, military parade thing? I started watching it. I'm going to go back and finish watching it. I put it on, had to. It's history. And I'm actually finding myself enjoying it because it's history. I know how fraught the history is. I teach how fraught the history is. Don't get me started on Vietnam and covert operations and all of it. But there's that element of, yeah, but this is history. It's the history of the uniforms, the history of the different vehicles. It's a history parade. So I'm like, yeah, cool. I'm all into it. Here's the best part. Trump looks so miserable. He's sitting there like the lump that he is, just like he was at the Pope's funeral or anything else. And he's sitting there schlumped like, I don't care. When is this over? How many battalions are there? How many wars are there again? He's like, this sucks.
People that have military parades, Kim Jong-un, Putin. I mean, this is stuff of dictators. What an embarrassment. What a vulgar display of weakness masquerading as strength. To celebrate the dear leader, this is a disgrace. Using American resources and the American military, these heroes, they've all been pulled off for the vanity of Donald Trump. But those that are being pulled onto assignment to be used as pawns for his birthday celebration, it says anything, symbolically and substantially of where we are in the United States of America. This is not what the founding fathers lived and died for.
Hey folks, it's Joe from Georgia. So somebody's embarrassed today. Today was the No King's Day as well as the June 14th military parade in Washington, D.C. Well, it's being estimated that almost 10 million people attended the 1,800 different protests just here in the United States. Well, there were, at the parade in Washington, D.C., which Donald Trump said he was expecting 200,000 people to line up and celebrate with him. It's his birthday today and all. Well, he was extremely disappointed because 200,000 people didn't show up. 100,000 people didn't show up. 20,000 people didn't show up. The Capitol Police are estimating the crowd at 10,000 people. In New York, 450,000 for the No Kings today. Atlanta, Georgia, 20,000. Los Angeles, innumerable. Chicago, all the cities across 1,800 locations in the United States, 10 million people. So let's say 10 million to 10,000. I'd say that's called a big dud of a military parade. But thank you to our troops who participated, because you didn't have a choice. But what a waste of money.
So let me get this straight. This administration came through the door talking about how they wanted to get the budget back under control, because us as Americans have been spending uncontrollably to the point where we are in a bind. And they said the best way to do that was by cutting the workforce. So they cut a whole lot of people's jobs. They cut a lot of people's insurance. They cut a lot of aid off to like countries where people needed that aid to stay alive. Like let that sink in. And they did that all in the name of saving money on our budget, right? But today we wake up and the president has decided to spend $45 million of taxpayers' money on a parade to celebrate his birthday and the military's birthday at the same time. Like if that makes any sense in even saying that, like if there's any sense to be found in that. That's what he said that he was doing, but he spent $45 million to do it. And I feel like that's crazy because 1, it got rained out. 2, nobody showed up. And 3, he was on the sidelines, like sitting there with egg on his face, because all of this shit is ridiculous. And I feel that if anybody else, any other president had done this shit, they wouldn't be able to find a job at Walmart nor the local CVS, because us as Americans would have rejected him. But it's amazing that this man has gotten this far. You got to take in mind, they came in the door talking about how they wanted to save money on the budget and how they were making cuts right and left. And then they started spending money on ridiculously stupid shit. Like, you got to take in mind, they upped our military spending budget, and we didn't even need the military to be like that. Like I guess that invested in. We had already as a country been investing in our military. That's just what we do. But he thought it was a good idea to cut all of the money that went to things that were actually needed just to bolster the military. Like, you got to take in mind, this man doesn't know what the fuck he is doing, and we are sitting here watching it. But I feel like, watching like him have this parade today and seeing all of the, No Kings protests that were going on, and seeing how us as Americans, we are uniting against like his regime and the shit that he's trying to push out. Seeing that made me feel so American, that it made me think in my mind that, I think America, we are coming to the overall consensus that he is full of bullshit, and like we need to get him out. And this, like, seeing these No King protests pop up really let us know that, we all are arriving on the same page. Because, I've said this before, that the things that he's doing, it goes beyond politics. Like, it goes beyond like politics. It's a battle of morality, because, in one breath you can say, hey man, I don't want all these illegal people in my country. You know what I mean? But at the same time, if these people are already over there and they have kids, and those kids are now citizens, and you want to send the parents back, home, what life does that make for the child? Like, you got to take in mind, it's no longer just politics, it's morality. Like, and if you're okay with, sending a child, I guess sending a child to live in a country away from their family because you deported their parents, then I feel like you're a fucked up individual. Like, you personally are a terrible fucking person and your morals are fucked up. So it wouldn't surprise me that you would align yourself with somebody like him. But I feel like, you know, the world is starting to wake up and people are starting to realize that, you know, the morality of it, you know, that they're starting to realize, you know, what really matters. And what really matters is that we don't break up families, you know what I mean? And it's not like, you know, even using that as a crutch, but we don't break up families. Families, if they're over here and they're together and they have made it, you know what I mean? And one of them is a citizen or they're in the process of working it out, let that legislation play out. And if they get, you know, certified to be over here, they get certified. And if they don't, then, you know, you have the access to deport them. But until those things are, I guess, processed and they're given that chance to get these things done, I feel like everything that this man is doing is just filled out of hate. So seeing everything, you know, like come together with the No Kings protest today, that really made me feel like an American. And it made me feel like we really are, you know, getting somewhere. So y'all let me know what y'all think. This video went a little longer than expected, but, you know, like I said, I'm really happy to see us uniting against something that, you know, needs to be, you know, put out of office, because, like, until it's out of office, there is nothing that we really can, you know, like do as a country. And I mean, like, far as growing, like truly growing. We can't grow long as that tumor is in the White House.
I think you also have your opinion. How did it really come out for you? For me, I always think that when China or Russia does it, they tend to have more power. They look a little bit better. If you look at them, how organized they are, that is some perfect thing. And the media always shows a lot of respect and attention to them. But then if you look at this Trump's parade, media gave it a little attention. People didn't even focus on it that much. And nobody even remembers if there was a parade. So you can share your thoughts down in the comment section. Tell me whatever you think. If you're watching us for the first time, please consider subscribing, like the video, and share. Thank you, and let's meet on the next one.